It's the Final Word Daily, day 2 from the UAE, and my, we've had a massive shock today in the Women's World Cup. It's brought to you by Ambassador Cruise Line, and to tell you all about it in 30 seconds is Daniel Norcross.
The first game of the day I thought was quite shocking insofar as South Africa pulled off a 10-wicket win. That doesn't happen very often in T20 World Cups. They thrashed the West Indies. It was another low-scoring non-thriller, but it was the second game of the day that was truly remarkable. New Zealand, who had been, quite frankly, abysmal throughout their tour of England, no one gave them a prayer. They were up against India, for whom it's written in the stars, isn't it? After their men won the T20 World Cup, surely their women are going to do it. Well, they still might just, I suppose, but they're going to have to come back from one of the most epic shellackings in World Cup history. It's come completely out of the blue. No one saw it coming, and it has thrown the cat among the pigeons.
It has been completely remarkable. New Zealand are on a run of 10 consecutive T20 losses, 12 if you can count the 2 warm-ups they've had here in advance of this tournament kicking off. To be honest, complacency through the roof, probably in the players, definitely in the media section, who expected India just to kind of win this without any drama. A big crowd was in today. It was a great atmosphere, and the atmosphere slowly got worse and worse and worse and worse. The strangest part of today is there was a point where India had to make a decision about how much they wanted to lose by. They had to make a choice of whether they wanted to protect their net run rate or they were happy to keep chasing this mythical victory and fall by the wayside. They have chosen the latter, and it has had big consequences for the rest of the competition because this is the group of death, as it were. This has India and Australia in it. They've done a whoopsie.
They have, because it's not just them. It's also Sri Lanka. We were surprised
Correct.
they lost yesterday. And Pakistan are not the worst team in these conditions with their battery of unbelievably slow bowlers. It's going to be hard for everybody to beat each other. I think, in a way, that is what India have got to cling on to. They've got to hope that, New Zealand could easily lose to Sri Lanka. But the problem is, they could lose to Pakistan. As you said, they've lost 10 in a row. But the problem is that net run rate has taken such a battering. And, looking at it, when you look at the scores, generally speaking, throughout this World Cup, people have struggled to get beyond 6 and over. In fact, no one has gone beyond 6 and over, apart from South Africa in their chase earlier on today when they needed 119 to win, and they did it with a fair few balls in hand, 14 or so. And then New Zealand, who got that 160. And it was just brilliantly enterprising batting. And that's possibly the outlier. Maybe those runs there are the outlier.
I was so relieved. When we had the first game today and West Indies posted 118, every single first innings of the 3 games we had so far had been between 110 and 120, I went, oh no, it's happening again. Dubai's the same as Sharjah. We're going to have to strap in
knuckle
for
down.
a runnable 2.5 weeks. Then the Georgia Plymouth redemption arc. What a story. I'm so happy. So, to be cruel to be kind, Georgia Plymouth had a poor series over in England when we saw her.
I think that's putting it mildly. Not only was she epically dreadful with the bat, she managed to contrive to drop ball after ball after ball at long off. And I felt for her because no one wants to see that happening to any cricketer. But you were tearing your hair out. I think there were certain New Zealand pundits who were thinking, is this experiment gone on a little too long?
But it was also getting to the point where it felt mean that she was playing, and it was like, do you have to protect her? She's 20 years old. Today, she's come out and she's blasted 34 of 20. It is the highest strike rate she's had in her career, 146. It's only, to put it into context, it's only the second time she's passed 30 with the bat. She averages 12 in T20 cricket. She has a strike rate of 88, and then today, she basically, Susie Bates, get in the bin, my game, my World Cup. And she's accelerated New Zealand past 50 in the power play. And then they just kind of, I was about to say they tripped their way to 160, but they didn't because Sophie Devine came in, got, I think it was 57 of 36. They batted brilliantly well.
It was a superbly paced target set, wasn't it, actually? Because when they lost those 2 quick wickets, one after the other, both at the score of 67, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, maybe.
When Plymouth and Bates were both out, one after the other, you thought, they've squandered it. They've squandered this great opportunity. They've thrown it all away. And we went to this period, 37, 38 balls without a boundary. And you thought, this is what happens when sides don't know how to win. You thought Sophie Devine, she's old, her best years are past her, hadn't seen her actually produce an innings like the one that she was about to do. Yeah. Certainly not in such an important game for really quite a long time. Then she just plays superbly. She played fine with Mealy Kerr to start with. They regroup. They spend 4 or 5 overs. Like I say, there's no boundaries. With no boundaries after the power play for 6 overs.
It's quite a long time.
And then they got 60 odd in the last 5. And it was all down to Divine. And it wasn't just boundary hitting, it was running twos. And there's going to be a lot of twos that need running. And you may say, well, shouldn't they be able to run twos? It's bloody hot. And not very many people have actually mastered the art out here of running twos. We saw Stefani Taylor earlier in the day, virtually dead on her feet by the end of it, having gone at no more than a run a ball. Sophie Devine, granted, it was later in the day, the sun wasn't out, but it gets hot and sticky actually. You get a different sort of heat out here once the sun goes down, which is just as debilitating, really quite humid. And her age, her fitness, she showed it in the field actually a few times, diving around, staving fours. Everybody in the New Zealand side looked totally up for it. Whenever they, well, let's get to the end of that. They got to 160, which felt like a daunting number. But then you thought to yourself, well, actually, this is when the really good batters are going to come into their own. And India have got those in spades. They've got Harmanpreet Kaur, they've got Jemima Rodriguez, they've got Smriti Mandana, they've got Shafali Verma. 161 is certainly within their orbit. But it didn't work out that way. And New Zealand stayed true to their task throughout, while India, I've got to say, the wheels came off. An eventual losing margin of 58 runs. That is
So
enormous. I think it's. Hang on, Hypercourse has told me.
Oh my God. Have you got them on speed dial?
Oh yeah, I've got Hypercourse is in my back pocket, baby.
Hypercourse is, of course, a leading Twitter figure on the internet.
Especially for women's cricket. This is New Zealand women's biggest win by runs against India, beating the 52-run margin at Trent Bridge in the semi-final of the inaugural Women's T20 World Cup in 2009. Is it an omen? Is it a sign?
Do you know what I find remarkable is, in amongst this being a massive shock, New Zealand and India's head-to-head record, New Zealand are like 10-4 up. It's utterly bizarre. But before we move on to, we're going to cover India's innings, and then we're also going to cover one of my favourite things that's ever happened in a cricket match, ever.
Are we Hall of Fame?
We're going to get it. This is the thing. I want to get it in earlier in the show because we're going to have to do it. Before we move on quickly to India's innings, I want to give a quick shout out to Brooke Halliday for a gem of a little cameo at the end, taking down Deepti Sharma in the penultimate over. Deepti Sharma, there was a chance this innings was going to potentially splutter and stall. Sort
of 140 odds.
140, and then she got the reverse sweep out against Deepti. She got the traditional sweep. Then she got Divine back on strike, and all in all, it was a massive factor in Sharma going for 45, the second most runs she's ever conceded in her 118-run career. Can you tell I've been on Cricket Info today? Just trawling through numbers. But let's just do it now. I'm so excited. Sophie Devine and Mealy Kerr.
Okay.
Take it away.
Now then, you see, I'm going to give you a little insight of what it's like to panic massively when you're on commentary, right? Because unfortunately, it happened to be the last ball of the over, and crucially, it's the last ball of the over, and on Test Match Special and on the ICC app, should you wish to listen to it.
Oh, you're the world feed?
Yeah, the world feed.
Wow.
It was time for a change of commentary. Firdose Munda was leaving her chair, and Tash Farrant was going to come in. So Mealy Kerr hits the ball up to Harmanpreet Kaur at long off. It's the longest single and most obvious one run you've ever seen in your life. We've seen these. I've commentated on, I would say, well over 4,500 of them in my life.
Wow.
And I did what I usually do, is gone up to Zada, I've taken the single, and you could see, umpire moving towards bowler. Harmanpreet had the ball in her hand. She was just, that was it. That was the end of the over. Suddenly, out of absolutely nowhere, as I've just said, and Firdose Munda's taking a break. And welcome back. Tash Farrant with the score, 6 overs to go, and suddenly I see Mealy Kerr running back to her end, stumps splayed everywhere, clearly way out of her ground, run out. Good. Oh no, massive panic. I've lost the news. Commentators are not supposed to miss runouts. It turned out, well, do you want to take it away from here? Because I was open-mouthed and flabbergasted. I couldn't understand what had happened. Mealy Kerr walked off because she thought, oh, bugger.
Oh, she was out.
Well, she was out. She was very, very out, and she'd been sold down the river by Sophie Devine. And it was a really crucial stage of the game, or it could have been a really crucial stage of the game, had New Zealand not recovered well at the back end anyway. But suddenly, as she's walking off, umpire Anna Harris says, no,
pause.
Wait there. Now, this wasn't wait there and let's get the umpire's decision, because Mealy Kerr knew that she was about 5 metres
off.
out.
She
right?
was walking off.
She was walking
The
off.
third umpire, fourth umpire, came striding onto the pitch and went,
Right.
whoa, 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 whoa.
Agenbag. Yes.
And then, so I remember.
And by the way, they
Yeah.
never have to do anything, that umpire.
That's a stressful gig, that.
That's not the third umpire role. That's the one where you do absolutely nothing.
That's a proper like swimming pool lifeguard role, isn't it? You do absolutely nothing until shit happens, basically.
Someone died. Yes.
And so I was watching the same from the press box, and then I got really confused because I've seen Kerr get run out, and I've looked across the square leg umpire for her to give her a decision, and she's tying her shoelaces. And I was like,
Beautiful, Jackie.
I was like, you weren't paying attention. But she's so far out, but why on earth would you be doing that at that moment?
Because the
She
ball
then
was dead
walks
as far
off,
as she was concerned.
and then it was literally, it took it until there was the TV replay for all to kind of reveal itself. So Kerr has driven the ball up, probably should have led with this bit actually. Kerr has driven the ball up to long off, they've trotted through for a single, then Devine at the non-striker's end has seen Harmanpreet basically walk in with the ball and has basically decided to take the piss and be like, she's not concentrating, we're going to steal a second run. But because everyone had stopped, the standing umpire had returned the bowler's cap to her, called over.
That's what we didn't know, because we obviously couldn't hear her
okay.
saying over, right? And that is the absolutely key part of it, because just handing a cap back isn't going to be enough.
Yeah.
You've got to have called over.
Well,
I think.
I'm to be honest, I'm just assuming she did, because otherwise we wouldn't be where we were. But then, if I was the umpire, I'd be flabbergasted and just kind of like beside myself. I'd be like, "You idiots! I've called over. Everything's stopped. Why are you playing the sport?" Harmanpreet Kaur was beside herself. India got so angry and within their rights, because they're like, "Well, how's the ball dead? Why is the ball dead for us if these dickheads are trying to run?"
Well, and I have a lot of sympathy with Harmanpreet.
Yeah,
at that
massively
point.
so.
Massive sympathy. But I guess what I don't have sympathy with is how she then reacted in the moment, because it then all just kicked off. She went down and sulkily with Smriti Mandana, who mercifully I think was providing some kind of skip. Let's not actually tear her limb from limb here, if possible. Because the thunderous rage, imagine the angriest Kate Cross you've ever seen in your life,
so good.
and quadruple it. She's walked down to Agenbag and the coaches and is remonstrating, and I understand why. I want to make it quite clear. I totally understand why Harmanpreet was livid, because it was the Kiwis that were taking the piss by trying to get the run.
100%.
And they had seen you're taking the piss and raised you're out.
Yeah.
So
one of the great parts of cricket.
yeah, so I totally understand it. But then you got this rather unseemly situation in which she was just not having any of it. I mean, no, it's out as far as she's concerned. Problem is, if Anna Harris has called over, then it is now. Everything that happens after that is ghost cricket. It didn't actually happen, which is just another example of why our sport is completely mental.
But it shouldn't have been mental. It was actually, I actually think it's so simple, because, and if you're Anna Harris in that situation, it's like when a referee blows for a free kick and then the ball plays on this score and they go, "Guys, I'm just really sorry. The whistle went."
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah,
it.
that's true.
It's all
Yeah.
dead. It's all dead from that point onwards. But Anna Harris is there standing like, "What? I've got one of the legends of the sport in the World Cup in front of millions of people watching on TV, losing her mind at me." Like this whole thing.
But she was firm, though, wasn't she? She stood firm, and she made it quite clear
there was
that the ball was dead and that there wasn't going to be an out. And I'm afraid she's coming back. Mealy Kerr's coming back out, whether you like it or not. It was just we had this rather ugly hiatus.
So there was a moment where Mealy Kerr started walking back on, and I went, "Okay, so she's still in. We've made a decision." And then it paused again. I went, "Big Jay Shah's been on the phone." And I was ready for us to go, and it all to be reversed, and it didn't happen. You're on the world feed, you can't have any fun.
Well, I just didn't think that it would work quite as quickly as that.
Fine.
I'm sorry. I mean, I love the idea.
Fine.
I love the idea.
That's
But actually, I mean,
that's
look,
the end of the final word. We're not having any more shows. Boring.
Well, maybe he was, and maybe that's why Mealy Kerr was out for the very next ball she faced, chipping a
Good
catch
point,
to short
good
extra
point.
cover. You
That
could
did-
be right.
that's a good
You
point.
could be right.
Right, we
But,
need-
you know,
okay,
and that really did need to happen, because she was so frothing at the mouth
social
with
karma,
Harmanpreet
yeah.
at that point that if Mealy Kerr had hit a 4 off her next ball, I dread to think what would have happened.
Mealy Kerr's an innocent bystander in all this. It was Sophie
It is,
Devine
yeah,
who should have
Sophie
been
Devine,
out.
yeah.
Anyway, we need to move on. India, they were 28 for 1 after 4.4 overs. They were quite well set. The first ball of the innings goes for 4 from Jessica.
Yep.
Long
11
hop.
off the first over.
And you go, "Oh, this was fun whilst it lasted," and that's that. Then They get Mandana and Kaur in quite a quick succession, and then they just start chipping the ball up to fielders.
Yeah.
And they all got out, and New Zealand won.
They looked a rabble today, actually. They looked a bit of a rabble in the field when things didn't go for them. And then when they were losing wickets, they were really, the body language was atrocious. There was people banging, throwing their bats down, banging bats against their legs. Apparently they'd been on a series of camps, camps to help with mental attitude, camps to help with fitness, camps to help with this, that and the other. It reminds me a lot of when the England men's team went to Australia and the BBC did a
Oh,
5-part
on the
series called
dietitian, yeah.
The Project Ashes.
I remember this.
And we played the first episode out at lunchtime of the first test, by which stage Rory Burns had long since been out to the first ball of the series, and England were on their way to a 4-0 shellacking.
That was my second favourite moment of cricket after the one today.
Yeah. So anyway, there was a lot of that going on today. I'm really concerned for India and their progress in this tournament. Their one saving grace is that it is the group of death. So actually, losing one game is not fatal. Even losing 2 games is not fatal. But what they're going to have to do is the games they win, I feel they're going to have to win by big margins, because they have lost punishingly badly today. 58 runs. Youch.
Right, time for an ad break. Time for Ambassador Cruise Line to make their long-awaited appearance on the second show. And Daniel is ready and raring. And then we're going to spend about 2 minutes talking about South Africa, West Indies, because
Yes.
I can't tell you how quickly that match went.
Yeah, well, okay. With the English summer finish, this is the one I'm doing, isn't
the
it?
one I sent you.
Okay. Yeah. With the English summer finishing last week, you may feel you're at the longest point until your next cricket fix. Apart from the fact that we're doing this World Cup, but you get the idea.
Be here.
Well, fear not. Ambassador Cruise Line has you covered with their Cricket Legends festive cruise. You can take the winter delights of Amsterdam's Van Gogh Museum, Antwerp's world-famous Christmas markets, then on to Rouen, known for Joan of Arc or Jeanne d'Arc, and on to the prettiest port town of all, Honfleur. All whilst in the company of not only TMS legends Jonathan Agnew and Henry Blofeld, but England cricket legends Graham Gooch and Alex Tudor. What better way to combine the best of winter with the best of summer, all at a starting price of just £559 per person. And that's before your 10% off with us. It's so easy. Jump on ambassadorcruiseline.com and pop in final word 10 at checkout, and you'll be sailing away beating the winter blues. Don't wait, do it now. Ambassador Cruise Line, giving you the chance to cruise with cricket legends this December.
I actually think it'll be such a pleasant environment.
Yeah.
Out on the ocean, chatting to Tudes, December, waking up in the morning. What's the score in the India-Australia test?
Yeah.
Catch up, have a chin wag.
Tell us about Gucci. Tell us how difficult it was when David
like
was
at the
on
Wacker?
that plane, and tell us about the
Exactly.
333. Oh, and talk us through that Headingley 100. 2 of them in successive years. The 150 odd against the West Indies, and that wonderful 135 against Pakistan. Wacker and Wazim. Stories to tell.
I'm so
and that's before
excited.
you even get to blowers.
Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to run through the card basically of South Africa, West Indies.
It was quite a boring
And then I'm
game.
going to throw to you for your Hall of Fame, because I'm going to cop out and just say the one that we spoke about for about 6 minutes. So you're going to need to think on your feet, Daniel.
Yeah, okay.
South Africa, they won by 10 wickets. West Indies, 118 for 6. Malaba, 4 for 29, bowled very, very well. Kiana Joseph at the top of the order had a quite torturous innings for the West Indies, 4 of 14. I think she made contact with the ball about 4 times. She got 30 odd against Australia in one of the warm-ups though. So, I don't know, opening day nerves, that type of thing. Hayley Matthews at halfway point kind of went down and gave her a pat on the back and was like, come on, let's go. Didn't work. Anyway, we carry on. Any jeopardy? Was it a case of we're in Sharjah again and 118 was a good score? No, which I think was actually a massive relief, because, as I said before, had it been a case that 118 did turn out to be a good score at Dubai and Sharjah, whew, okay. But as it happened, Wolvart and Brits unbeaten at a piece on 59 and 57. 10-wicket win. What a statement from South Africa. Same bag for India as it is for the West Indies. You've now lost once and lost heavily. It's going to be difficult for the West Indies. You have to make sure that they beat England, and they have to.
It's not quite as bad. It's not quite as bad. Look, it's not great because it's 2 and a bit overs. Net run rate doesn't take into account
wickets, does it?
No,
Oh, that's such nonsense.
It is a bit, because they were absolutely shellacked, and South Africa could probably have got there a little bit quicker. But it was a really fine partnership from Wolfhart and Brits, but they just never put under a lot of pressure. Very worryingly, I didn't see a lot of penetration in West Indies attack at all.
Yeah.
But Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame. Yes, please.
Well, for me, it's. I just want to do a quick passing mention of the fact that D. came out to play her first international match in 3
Very
years.
good. That's where I was going to go.
Sits down, sits down, gets in, takes forever to mark her card in classic D. fashion. I mean, I swear it took about a minute and a half. She moved it half a millimetre, another half a millimetre, with the full bat, not the side-on bat, the front-on bat.
Oh, like she's asking with two, middle and leg.
Yeah, never know about that. First ball, clatters it away to the boundary, and you thought, oh yeah, that's what the West Indies have been missing. Then she gets out and the whole scene goes horribly ill. The other quick point to make on that is that throughout the West Indies innings, and indeed through a little bit of South Africa's innings, the person I saw most of was the physio, because player after player after player kept going down, either with dislocated-ish fingers or cramp or problems with their feet or they're smashed in the face at one point. Do you remember? Yeah. Bowler
Oh
smashed
yeah,
in the
no.
face.
Yes, I did see that.
Yeah. So saw a lot of the physios. It was bloody hot. South Africa won very comfortably. West Indies are in trouble. But I tell you what, though, today has been the day. We're only 2 days in.
Yep.
But this World Cup has come alive.
What a message, what inspiration. Ambassador Cruise Line will be with you every day, so will they. We'll see you tomorrow. New Zealand, who'd have thought it? Who'd have thunk it? We didn't, you maybe did. We'll chat tomorrow.
Fash on chops.